Welcome back to another edition of the Wizard Shop. Today we're going to talk about those Craigslist finds, those Auto Trader finds. You found a really good deal. It may not be as good as you thought it was. Let's talk about that right after this. So today we're going to talk about the topic of finding a super duper cheap deal on the car you've always wanted. It could be a Lexus, a Toyota, a Lamborghini, whatever. It could be any kind of car, just a car that you've been dreaming of, and you come across one on Auto Trader or Craigslist or any of your favorite search sites, and you're like, there it is, I gotta have it. It's really cheap, and it may just need a few extra things fixed and I can be on the road. That rarely ever is the case. In the many years that I've been a mechanic and in the years that I've ran a shop, I've been through this scenario many times. I've actually recently got several phone calls just in the last couple weeks. I found this car, a 928 Porsche, or this or that. It doesn't run. I'm going to ship it to your shop and we're going to get it back on the road. And I say, well, how much did you pay for the car? Got it for $2,000. Really good deal. And I explained to them it's probably going to take $6,000 or $8,000 to get it to where they think they want it.
Hey, Car Wizard, don't you know somebody that likes to buy really cheap cars, though?
Yeah, Hoovy from Hoovy's Garage. Contrary to popular belief, he actually knows what he's doing. He knows what he's looking at, and he knows what he's getting into most of the time. And he knows ahead of time when he got the really cheap Murcielago, it's going to take thousands to get it where he wants it. And he's ready to spend it. He's got the money. He didn't buy this car thinking he could fix it for $50 and be back on the road. That's the common misconception that we're talking about today. We're going to walk through the shop and stand by a couple different cars that are good examples of this. But be very wary when you find that really good deal, cheap find, that you actually get it to a shop or you're going to repair it yourself and you find yourself going, what have I gotten myself into? And then it becomes one of those projects that sits in the garage for 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years and never gets touched again. We have one of those here and we'll talk about it towards the end of the video. Let's move over to the Bentley. So this is Hoovy's Bentley Turbo R, and it is in really pretty good shape. It's got all kinds of little things we're having to work through to get this thing to be where he wants it. We have put a lot of time and a lot of money into this car already. And as we get certain things addressed, it only reveals the next thing down the line. Now that's leaking, or now this is having issue. This could be a good example of a vehicle that someone could find on Craigslist for relatively cheap and realize it's going to cost more than they spent on the whole car to make it right again. I see these types of cars for sale online a lot, whether it be Silver Spurs or Turbo R's, Silver Shadows, $5,000, $10,000, and you're like, wow, I could pick up one of these and put a couple $100 into it and I'll be set. These are some of the worst cars made, as far as if they're not maintained properly, it will come directly out of your pocketbook extremely heavily. By the time you fix a few things, all you do is open up a can of worms and you find out that it needs not 2 or 3 things fixed, but 27 things fixed. And they're all $500 for this and $2,000 for that and $600 for this. And then you're like, this wasn't the cheap deal that I thought it would be. The previous owner delayed all these repairs or didn't do them properly. You will now have the privilege of getting the car up to snuff from the past 5 years of neglected maintenance. You're going to have to get all that caught up to now. And it's usually a nightmare. I'm doing this video today because I've been through this scenario over and over and over. Not only with myself or with Hoovy. And Hoovy, like I said, he doesn't get into these things stupidly. But there are a lot of people out there that call me up, I've got this or that, I just bought it, and I'm going to bring you and have you bring it back to life again. And that's not what I do here. This is not a vehicle restoration shop. This is a minor to moderate repair shop. So if you think I'm going to get your car that's been in the barn for 15 years back on the road again, I don't do that here. Let's head over to the Chevy truck we're working on for Eurasian Bob. This is Eurasian Bob's 1973 C30 truck. And for what he paid for it and the amount of money he's going to have to put into this to get everything right, he still comes out ahead. He's doing pretty good on this truck so far. But it's still going to be a couple grand. Right now we've gone through a lot of different things and got it running and got it going, only to drive it and something else goes out. The accelerator pump on the carburetor just went out. This vehicle's set for quite a while. Even when he owned it, he's had it setting for a little while. And things may work when he first gets it out of storage. And as you use it more and more, things that are barely holding on, seals and O-rings, gaskets that are just barely holding on, all of a sudden start to let loose. They go through heat cycles, cold cycles, heating up, cooling down, and putting a load on them that wasn't there before, and pretty soon seals start to crack, things start to leak. That's one thing that I want to talk about too, is not only the cheap cars that you can buy on your favorite site online, but also barn finds. To me, a car that's 20 or 30 years old with only 10,000 miles on it, that's like, oh, it's the holy grail. This car is awesome. For me, I run as fast as I can. I don't want a car with only 10,000 miles on it that's 30 years old. Everything is going to fail. Your brake hoses, your seal, everything is going to fail. You're going to get the car for $5,000 and you're going to put 7 or 8 grand more into it, paying a shop to get it right. There are cases when you can find a barn find and put the money into it and get your money back and then some if it's a car that's worth it. Like the Datsun 260Z that we had in here recently, it had literally 10,000 miles on it. But the owner, Bill, was fully aware of it's going to cost to fix everything. We went through the car front to back, we did hoses and gaskets and seals, and we really got the thing taken care of and brought it back to life. I think he had 4 or 5 grand was his bill here. But he turned around and sold it and got all of his money back, all of his repair money back, and then some. So that's kind of a scenario where it can work, but most of the time, it doesn't. So at my previous shop, my landlord brought me an 85 Volkswagen Cabriolet that had been sitting for 10 or 15 years. Oh, it should fire right back up, just a few little things and we'll be set. And you feel obligated, it's your landlord, you want to try to get this running for him. Otherwise, I would have never taken on the job. And in hindsight, I still wish I wouldn't have. Guys, I had to go front to back on everything. I had to pull the motor, pull the transmission, pull everything, the hoses, the lines, the brakes, it just went on and on and on. He had $15,000 into that car. That car's not even worth that. But it had sentimental value or something. I'm not sure what the reason was, but we finally did get it going, and it hasn't come back. I don't know if he parked it again and sitting again or what's going on with it, but that's not scenarios I like to get in anymore, and I typically don't. Hoovy recently just did a video of a 93 Camaro Z28, a red one. It was a barn find. It had been sitting for 10 years. And it was the idea that we could fix a couple of things and get this thing back on the road and it'll be good for years. No. There was so many things we had to do. As you've seen in Hoovy's video, we had to drop the rear axle to get the fuel tank out. And we had to replace the fuel sending unit, the fuel pump, everything inside of there and put it back together. Then it had fuel pressure, but it still wouldn't run. Then we had to pull the injectors and individually clean them because they were gummed up. Then we got it running, and the water pump started leaking, and the timing cover, which is common on an LT1, it started leaking all over the Opti distributor. We had to pull all that stuff apart. And here's the thing. You pick up a car like that, $4,000 or $5,000, and you think, I'll put $1,000 into it, I'll get this thing on the road, and we'll have it. But everything I tallied up just recently that Hoovy did, his cost is a little cheaper. He spends multiple tens of thousands of dollars here a year. So he gets a really good deal here. Understandably so. And you can too if you spent that much here. Most people don't. But the thing is, I tallied up his bill if it was just to be a day-to-day customer that comes through the shop. To get that Camaro back on the road would have cost you $7,500. That's almost double what was paid to buy the car. And then you say, oh, I don't understand, why is this costing so much? Because every time you get one system up and going again, it just reveals a weakness further down the line because it's been sitting and rotting for 10 years. Now, like I said, the purpose of this video is not to bring you down or to be grim or anything like that. It's to kind of do a reality check. Like I just said a minute ago, in the past few weeks I've gotten phone call after phone call. I've got this car, that car, it hasn't ran in 5 years, it hasn't ran in 10 years. And these people are out of state and they're like, I'm going to ship the car to your shop and have you get it running and ship it back home. And I'm like, guys, the shipping alone is going to be $1,200 to $1,500 to get it here and another $1,200 to $1,500 to get it back. And one guy was like, oh no, it ain't going to be that high. But the truth of the matter is that me and Hoovie have both shipped cars over, across, back and forth many, many times. And it has never been cheaper than $700 or $800. One way. And the guy called me back and he was like, yeah, you're right. They want $1,600 to ship the car just one way. I can't afford that. And when I heard he can't afford that, then I knew that car doesn't need to be in my shop. If he can't afford $1,600 to get it here, how's he going to afford $4,000 to get it back running again? And that's when I knew I'm not interested in your project at all. And that brings to mind, he bought it cheap. He figured $1,500 tops, he'd have it running again. It quickly grew out of hand and he realized, oh my goodness, this is way, way, way over my head. I'm going to have to stop. I don't have that kind of money right now. That's what he said. Let's head on over to the twin Allantes we have in the shop. These are the two Allantes that Hoovie got not too long ago. The red one has become Mrs. Wizard and the white one is Hoovie's. It's actually ready to be picked up. He just hasn't picked it up yet. But this is a good scenario of a couple of cars that Hoovie got, and it turned out really good. We did have to put a little money into both of them to fix a few things, but they're running, driving, you can take them anywhere you want. But with the engines that they have, the Northstars, they're both a ticking time bomb. I'm not afraid of it because I've already been through this before with the Northstar Performance head stud kit. I'm fully capable of doing the entire job front to back. So if this happens to either one of these, I can do the job. Would it be worth it? Probably not. But we're going to enjoy them while we can. It may last another 5 years, and you get 5 years of enjoyment out of the car. Either one of these I wouldn't recommend to someone who's not budgeted to spend $5,000 to get it back on the road. If you've got a budget of $500 or $1,000, don't even look at these cars. It won't be worth your time. One of the things I'm trying to help you guys with is to save yourself the heartache and the time and the trouble. You go through the whole rigmarole of getting the car, getting it home. You paid $1,500, $2,000, whatever for the car of your dreams that you've always wanted. Then a nightmare strikes. It's just like, this is not what I planned on. This is not what I dreamed about. And then you end up being really depressed and really upset. There's a car club I'm a member of here in Wichita. There's an online forum that we talk back and forth. And frequently there's guys post up pictures of Craigslist finds. This is the car I always wanted. A Lexus LS400, $1,200. Guys, I need to go get this. Check this out. And they go out and buy it. And over the next few weeks, the posts on that topic that follow, I got screwed over. The transmission's scrap. The thing won't even go into gear. This is broke. That's broke. Guys, I don't have this kind of money. Anybody want to buy it? $500, come and get it. Either that, or it gets parked in the garage and you don't hear about it again. And 6 months down the road, the members of the club are like, hey, buddy, what happened to that Lexus LS400? Actually, I got rid of it. I actually lost interest in it. No, they didn't lose interest in it. That really good deal turned out to be a nightmare. So take this as words of caution. And I've got one more story to show you. This is a 79 Porsche 928 with the manual transmission. You guys have been wanting to know about this for a while. The guy that owns this also owns a 1985 928 that's in excellent condition with 30,000 some miles on it. And it runs and drives, and we put a little bit of money into it. But this one that's got some sort of sentimental value to the guy. It's been in and out of here. We fix a few things. He takes it home. He thinks maybe I want to fix this now or fix that. And the car's actually done. We're just waiting for him to pick it up. This is a someday car. It's one of those cars you say, someday I'm going to get to it, or someday I'm going to do this, or someday I'm going to do that. The car was in rough shape. As you can see, it's had a building fall on it. And the guy he can't bring it to himself to get rid of it. And we've gotten a lot of things fixed, and it runs and drives. But I don't think that he'll ever get his money back out of this car. I fixed the things for him because he's a good customer. He's a great guy. And he pays his bill and he's happy, but I don't know what to think about this car. I'm happy to fix it for him, and he's happy, and he gets to take it home, and now certain things are working again that weren't working before. But what will it be 10 years from now, 20 years from now? I don't know. So I don't think he's looking to restore this car. He just wants to kind of nudge it along and keep it alive. He has pleasure in driving it and owning it, and for whatever reason, his personal reasons, he can't part with it. So he's trying to nurse this thing along and keep it going. If he doesn't get his money back out of this car, I don't think he's concerned about that. He just wants to keep the thing going. That's just kind of the story on this car, what's going on with it. How much did he pay for it and all those statistics and data, I don't know that. But it's really sad that a building fell on it. And he's really sad about that too. It was a really beautiful car until that happened. And it's just finding it really hard to just dump the car. Yeah, let's take a look around and let you look inside of it. As you can see on the hood, it's got the scratches on it and dents where the building fell on it. And on the fender here too. And on the roof. A lot of these things, I don't think it would be worth even repairing. The cost to do on this car would just be astronomical to repair these. You'd have to cut sections off and replace sections and re-weld, and it's going to be a crazy amount of money to get it visually back to what it was. Interior-wise, it's okay. It's not great. The seats are in decent condition, but it's got cracks in the dash, and it's got lots of age on it. But then again, how much money would it take to get that fixed? There's just thousands to get the dash fixed, probably. All the leather and everything redone. It does run and drive fine. Runs very well. It's kind of a sad story, really. It's been sitting in the shop for quite a while. I don't push the guy or rush him because he's very pleasant to deal with. I really like this guy. I really like the customer. It's too bad that the building fell on it. That the rest would be worth fixing up on this car. It'd be worth it, except for the building falling on it. For me, me personally, I would have just sold it as a project for somebody or gotten rid of it, move it on down the line, but for whatever reason, he can't. On some of these cars that you buy and you pick up, if you just want to drive the car and you're not concerned about restoring it, there'd be certain repairs that you should do and certain ones that could probably wait for a while. Anything with the fuel system, whether it be fuel lines cracked or the fuel pumps leaking or the fuel rails leaking, those have to be addressed immediately or could cause a fire. If you've got very minor seepages on the transfer case or transmission or engine or anything, those probably can wait. It's not going to be detrimental. If you have a check engine light on for an emissions code, because a purge valve or something like that, legally you should get it fixed, but is it going to damage the car? No. It's something that probably can wait a little while. If your air conditioner's not working, it sucks in the middle of summer to not have AC, but it probably could also wait. Your brakes, if they're spongy, if you have brake fluid leaking, that's not something to skimp on. You have to get your brakes fixed and find out what's going on. You could end up rear-ending somebody or going off the road. Your lights as well is something you want to get going. It probably won't take too much money so that you're safe and that you don't get pulled over. If you don't put any money into your lights, the cops will be happy to remind you of that. The steering as well, if it's real loose or something's wrong, then you want to get that fixed. You want to be able to stay on the road. But there's many issues with the car that can be ignored, and it will continue to run, and you can enjoy the car, you can drive it. The interior, if it needs a lot of work like this one does here, the car is still functional. You can focus on other things on the car that are more important, like your brakes and your fuel system and steering and things of that nature, and worry about the interior later. Now, during this pandemic that we're going through, something to keep in mind on your daily driver, you can also prioritize repairs. If your interior is cracked or the dash is cracked, that can wait. If your AC just quit on you, or your power mirrors quit working, that can wait. But if you've got leaking fuel, leaking brakes, those have to be fixed. If you get 2 or 3 of those things all broken at the same time, you need to choose the ones that need to be done immediately, which would be brakes, fuel, steering, and your suspension to make sure the wheels aren't going to fall off. But the rest can probably wait. Emissions codes can wait. So I thought you guys would want to kind of follow along. I would show you guys some of the pitfalls you can get into by purchasing these really cheap cars. Over the past year, I've had a few cars in the shop that were shipped to me. They said, this car's amazing, it's in great shape, I just got a few things that need fixed, and I'll be back on the road. And then the car shows up, and it's a total piece of you-know-what. It is exactly not what they just described it to be. So now I'm stuck with the car. I don't even want to work on the thing anymore because it's not worth it. That is not what they told me the condition of the car was. This is something over phone calls I've gotten the last year, and even in the last couple of weeks, like I said, that's what brought this video up. You guys really need to be careful, especially during this pandemic. This is not the time to buy that cheap car because other people are also going through this pandemic, and they may have issues with their car, and they try to unload it and dump it on you. They need the money really bad. They need to sell the car. And if they pass something off to you and it's got severe issues, it's not their concern. You may get stuck with something really, really bad. So just keep that in mind as you're searching and checking online for cars. I know you guys are like me, you're constantly searching for cars for sale. And actually, I haven't been the last couple of weeks. I haven't even been hitting up those sites because it's just like, why? I need my money to keep my guys' paychecks. I need things to keep afloat in here. Projects are not even on my list right now, guys. If you do have a project at home that's not going to cost a lot of money to fix and you need a few tools, check out my Amazon affiliate page. There's lots of tools. You could write up a list of things you could buy later on after we get through this. It might help you get your project done. If you haven't hit the subscribe button already, go ahead and do that. We've got many more cool videos to come. And again, thanks for watching.